Okay, let's jump right in. Welcome to today's explainer. Today, we're stepping into the shadowy, atmospheric world of traditional Bengali folklore. We are breaking down a really chilling narrative called The Curse of the Bamboo Grove, a Sachunni tale. So if you're a fan of cultural myths, psychological tension, or, just things that go bump in the night, you are absolutely in the right place. Let's step into the dark and see exactly how this classic tale unfolds, shall we?
Now, before we get completely immersed here, the author does provide a quick disclaimer. This story is entirely fictional, written just for entertainment. But, well, as with all great folklore, the terror feels incredibly real to the people who pass these stories down from generation to generation, right? It really taps into those deep, primal fears. So definitely keep that context in mind as we journey into the dark today.
So, picture this. Our story is anchored in a small, isolated village in West Bengal. And in this village, there's basically one absolute unbreakable golden rule. Never, and I mean never, enter the old bamboo grove after sunset. Why? Well, because the locals firmly believe it's inhabited by a supernatural entity known as a Sachunni. And this fear, it isn't just some vague, passing superstition either. It literally dictates the entire village's nightlife. Once that sun dips below the horizon, that path is just completely abandoned.
Because once the darkness sets in, the grove kind of comes alive. People brave enough to be anywhere nearby report hearing this distinct, super eerie jingling sound of Shankha. Those are traditional white bangles, just echoing out from the thicket. And even more terrifying, some folks have caught these fleeting glimpses of a woman dressed in a vibrant red saree. But here's the kicker. Her face is completely hidden, totally obscured by this long, unruly black hair. I mean, it's the exact kind of haunting imagery that just burns itself into your mind.
But of course, you know how these legends go. There's always someone willing to test the limits, right? Enter Rahul. He's this local youth filled with exactly the kind of daring hubris that usually kicks off a horror story. So he takes a bet with his friends to do the unthinkable, walk right into the heart of that cursed bamboo grove at the exact stroke of midnight, 12 o'clock a.m. I mean, it's basically the classic setup for an absolute disaster. Wouldn't you agree?
So Rahul actually steps into the pitch black of the grove, and at first, there's just silence. Literally nothing happens. Rahul's probably standing there thinking he's won the bet, and the villagers are all just paranoid. But then, the atmosphere violently shifts. A sudden, freezing wind just rips through the grove out of nowhere. The heavy bamboo stalks begin to sway and thrash around, seemingly entirely on their own, like they aren't even being driven by the wind. It's like the environment itself is reacting to something unseen. And then, the wind just dies down. Dead silence falls again. And out of the darkness, Rahul hears a voice. Now, it's not some monster's demonic growl or anything like that. Instead, it's this sweet, chillingly calm voice asking one simple question. Has anyone seen my bangle? Just imagine standing there in the dark, already totally terrified by the sudden freeze, and suddenly hearing those exact words right behind you in the shadows. Yeah, that is pure nightmare fuel.
So, Rahul turns around, obviously trembling, and that's when he sees her. At a quick glance, she actually has normal human traits. The red saree, the white Shankha bangles. But then, the demonic truth reveals itself. Her eyes are entirely hollowly pitch black. And in a truly terrifying supernatural twist, her feet, they suddenly turn completely backward. In that exact moment, she drops the human facade and just begins slowly, deliberately walking right toward Rahul.
Naturally, Rahul does exactly what any of us would do in that situation. He turns and sprints for his life. But the horror doesn't stop there. He's running as fast as he possibly can, lungs burning, all the identical bamboo stalks just blurring together in the dark. But the bamboo grove has somehow become this endless supernatural loop. No matter which direction he runs or how far he goes, he finds himself magically trapped, returning to the exact same spot right in front of the advancing Sachunni. It's like the geography of the grove itself is cursed, specifically designed to trap its victims.
So how on earth does he actually survive this? Well, in a moment of absolute panic, his mind flashes back to a protective mantra that his grandmother taught him as a kid. He squeezes his eyes tightly shut and just begins frantically chanting, absolutely refusing to look at the entity. And suddenly, this blinding flash of lightning pierces the night sky right overhead. When the thunder finally rolls away and Rahul cautiously dares to open his eyes, it's dawn. The sunlight is streaming in and the grove is completely,
utterly empty. He actually made it to morning. Somehow, a very, very traumatized Rahul makes it back to his house. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, okay, come on, it was probably all just a bad dream, right? Maybe a hallucination brought on by midnight panic in a spooky place. But when he finally gets into the safety of the light, he looks down at his right hand, and there is a lingering, visible red mark. It's the undeniable physical imprint of a bangle, which is shocking proof that his horrific encounter in the bamboo grove was absolutely real. It literally left a mark on him.
All right, before we wrap up the narrative today, let's take a quick step back and look at the actual cultural context of what we just explored. What exactly is a Sachunni or Sachunni? Well, it's actually a really foundational figure in traditional Bengali folklore, typically representing the restless spirit of a married woman. But you have to realize, these aren't just spooky stories for the sake of being spooky. Using these entities is honestly a brilliant psychological tool for cultures. It helps them enforce curfews, pass down warnings, and ultimately keep vulnerable people, like wandering kids or reckless youths like Rahul, out of dangerous forests through these deeply unsettling campfire tales.
But bringing the story back to the present day, the village certainly hasn't forgotten Rahul's ordeal. In fact, on the absolute darkest nights of the month, Amavasya, the night of the new moon, the villagers say you can still hear a voice echoing from the depths of that old bamboo grove. Only now, it's no longer a question, it's a flat-out demand. Give me back my bangle. And believe me, to this day, absolutely no one has the courage to go anywhere near that path in the dark.
This legend really perfectly captures the enduring, chilling power of local folklore, doesn't it? But the story isn't over just yet. The author has actually left us hanging with a promise in the source material, stating that a second part is coming soon, which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question for you to ponder. After knowing exactly what lurks in the dark of that grove, will you dare to return for part 2? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this look at a classic myth gave you a thrill. Stay curious and maybe keep a light on tonight.